Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, we are going to do our annual winners and losers.
Yes.
Winners and losers of 2023. First thing we want to do, we are less than 50 subscribers away from 10,000.
Right.
So we're excited about that.
We're very excited about that. So you are going to make our list of winners as soon as you subscribe.
Yes.
So please subscribe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go. We're going to go through the list. We're each going to give our opinion whether these were winners or losers. We have about 15 to 17 different groups that we're going to point to.
Right.
All of this is basic real estate.
Right. So we're going to try to jam through pretty fast. So, hang on to your boots. Here we go.
Okay. The first one, winner of loser 2023, home builders.
Home builders, they're winners.
Why are they winners?
So they are winners because they have absolutely had control of the market this year, right?
Yep.
They have had the opportunity to build as many or as few homes as they've wanted. They have a captive market because there's insufficient resale inventory. Mm-hmm. They have record-breaking profits.
Yep.
So all of that makes them winners.
They do, despite what you've heard, they do not have a ton of inventory sitting around empty or any of that nonsense. If you try to go buy a new house today, it's in most markets, especially here in Vegas, it's months before you can actually take possession of the house because they don't have just homes sitting around. Mm-hmm. Okay, the second one, the Fed.
The Fed. So the Fed is a winner.
Okay.
So the reason the Fed is a winner is because the Fed got its act together and raised interest rates, did a good job of definitely abating inflation. Inflation is definitely on its back foot. We're doing much better. And that not only is inflation down, but they've managed to do this without tanking the economy. So I think that the Fed is a big winner because they did a good job reducing inflation without tanking the economy.
Yeah, I agree. Their goal was just to stop inflation, and they did, including real estate inflation. Mm-hmm. They tampered it down. Higher interest rates have definitely softened the home prices from going up. Mm-hmm. But they haven't They didn't crash the economy. They didn't crash the housing market. Didn't do any of that. They just slowed it down substantially.
Right.
Okay. The iBuyers, meaning the flipper iBuyers, Opendoor and all those companies.
So, I know that they've somewhat struggled this year, but I still think that they did okay because remember, they've been buying these houses for years. So even when they're selling homes at a discount, when you're looking at the big picture, they're making money. Now, are they making money in every market? No. Are they making money in most markets? I don't know about that this year, honestly. But when we're looking at the big picture for what they've been up to for the last few years, I think that they've done well.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, overall they're losing money. Is industry they're losing money. Right,
but when you're looking, so when you're looking at Opendoor and people like that, yes, they're losing money, but there are certainly enough of them that have bought at a huge discount in the first place to offset some of the investments that could have been better.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, institutional buyers, meaning hedge funds, the Invitation Homes, BlackRock, people like that.
So I think that they've done well as far as what they've purchased. I think they're doing well with the rentals. I think the thing that concerns me about them is that they've caught the attention of lawmakers and they are being made the scapegoat for all kinds of problems within the housing sector that really have little to nothing to do with them. So I think that is kind of, the jury's still out as far as what's going to happen because of that. But I think as far as investment choices, they've been good investment choices. I think that they're returning good money to their shareholders. So from that perspective, I think that they've done well.
Yeah, they employ teams of people to pick the best zip codes, the best price ranges to go in to get the highest returns. Mm-hmm. They've taken this data-driven approach to investing that a lot of people don't take. Mom and pop investors are usually, and flippers, like individuals, are just focused on low acquisition costs. That's literally all they're focused on. But they just went out and said, hey, look, let's pick markets that we think will have high appreciation, high amount of people that will be able to rent, and let's go find these markets with data. And I think that's why they were a winner. And yes, Juan is right. They caught the government's attention.
Right.
Because they've been super successful. Whether or not they're actually making it harder by, they're only about 3% of all homeowners, so they're not that big of a thing. Okay, winner or loser? The Crash Bros. We have different opinions on this.
We do.
I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I think the Crash Bros have been winners.
Why are they winners when they
So-
literally have not been right every year since 2013?
Okay, so the Crash Bros are in the business of making money from their videos.
Okay.
And their list of subscribers is massive. They are getting extreme compensation because their list of subscribers is massive and their watch time is massive.
It's like 30,000 a month.
Right. So that is their business model. So their business model isn't based on providing good information or information that they can back up with data or anything like that. Their business model is based on clicks and the revenue it generates. So from the revenue generation perspective, I think that Crash Bros are winners.
I'm going to say they're losers, and not that the people who watch the channel are losers. They're a bunch of losers. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that to some extent, you have to be intellectually honest about what you believe and that this information is actually meaningful for someone trying to make a decision. And the reason I say they're losers is because they literally keep predicting housing crashes based on all this fake data that they're making up, or extremely
It's manipulated data.
manipulating their
Yes.
data to try to drive a point. And they've actually stopped like honest people who are trying to make decisions about what to do with their life and scared people. It's mostly fear. But like I said, they've predicted 0 of the last 8 housing crashes. They just keep predicting housing crashes.
Right.
We've been dealing with them since 2013 on this channel. Okay, winner or loser? Mom and pop investors.
So I think they've been winners from the perspective that rents have held steady and have increased a little bit. Their assets have increased as far as the appreciation of their homes. I think losers from the perspective that there's been very little inventory out there, so they really have not had much choice as far as continuing to add to their portfolio.
Yeah, we work with some investors who are like every year trying to buy another house. And it's been hard the last 2 years because there's just not enough houses. And the feeling is, hey, we just bought a house for $300,000 2 years ago. Why should we pay $380,000 for literally the same house in the same neighborhood when we're going to get the same rent? So I don't know that prices of those homes will ever go back to $300,000, for example. Even those were like 2021 prices. Those were pretty high, substantially higher than they were maybe 4 years ago. But I think they're winners because they're playing the long game. So anyone who plays the long game in real estate's a winner. Mom and pop investors and all the people we work with we haven't had a sale now in a few years of a mom and pop investor, right? Where they wanted to sell them.
No, we've had buyers though. We've
Yeah, but I'm saying our long-term investors aren't like, we had one who just said, hey, I want to get out of real estate completely.
right.
But other than that, everybody else was,
Yeah.
no, we're keeping them.
Even in the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple closings for investors. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Regular buyers, like the average person buying a house in the whole marketplace, are they a winner or are they a loser?
So this may seem contrary, but I think that they're a winner. I think they're a winner because they didn't have to fight for the house for the most part. Yes, there are still multiple offers out there, but not like we're going to see once interest rates go well below 6. So they didn't have to fight for the house. They got a house. Hopefully they're happy with it. Yes, the interest rate is higher than they would like it to be. However, they understand that they're going to be able to refinance, within a couple years, and their payments will go down, and the whole time their home hopefully will appreciate. So I think anybody who took control of their housing cost by buying and not renting and locked in that mortgage rate for the next 30 years is a winner.
Okay. Even though it's just maybe a higher rate.
I understand it's a higher rate.
They can refinance.
They can refinance.
Okay.
The issue is that chances are that homes will appreciate faster than their income will grow. So because of that, I think that buyers are winners.
Okay. I think that this was the toughest year in a long time. Interest rates were highest they've been in a decade, and prices are the highest they've been in a decade.
Right.
So
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the problem. In 2019, prices were the highest they'd been in a decade, and they're like 40. You could if you knew for sure you could time travel back to 2019. I bet you'd be buying houses like crazy because you know that they're going to be 40% more, and rents are going to be 40% more too. Mm-hmm. You could just make a ton of money. And the next one is renters/tenants.
Ooh, so I think they kind of caught this kind of tough break.
Okay.
I think that these are people who are making someone else's mortgage payment.
Okay.
And they're in this situation where for whatever reason they can't buy and don't have control over their housing costs because their housing costs are at the whim of their landlord. So I happen to think that regardless of what the year is, tenants are generally kind of getting the short end of it. So I'm going to have to say losers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that too. It's been a really tough year to transition. Is their home prices have been going up? Is they're trying to save money for down payment? It's harder to do that when your rent is also going up. Mm-hmm. Rents have gone up substantially over the last 4 years. I just think that, I feel bad for the people, but some of them have structural reasons they can't do it, meaning they're not going to be in a city long enough or whatever. There are always reasons people can't afford to buy, but I think, that was a tough year for renters and tenants. And honestly, I think the problem is I don't see it getting better in the next few years. I don't see like rents dropping or the macro situation getting better for a renter or a tenant.
No.
Banks, winners or losers?
Okay, so small banks, losers. Losers because they were actually being cautious and they invested in mortgage-backed securities, and which are a safe bet. However,
really low return.
They were low returns, and that really affected their liquidity, and they couldn't sell them for face value on the open market. They had to sell them at a discount, which put them in the red. So that caused problems. There were a couple of banks that got in trouble, and that just spelled trouble for other banks by association, not because they had any particular issues. So you did have a lot of people flee small banks, and of course that just makes it harder for small banks to make loans and to function. So I think small banks were the losers. I think big banks were the winners because a lot of the money that fled the small banks ended up in the big banks, right? Like
deposits,
right?
You're talking about
like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and that sort of thing. I think all banks saw less deposits or saw people taking money out of the bank and putting it into money markets because money markets are paying so much more than the banks are. The banks are trying, by the way, they are trying. They're trying to do these CDs for 5% for 12 months, and they're trying to entice people to get the money out of the money market and bring them back to the bank. So they are trying. Overall, like I said, small banks losers, big banks winners, but all of them struggled because people are taking their money and putting it elsewhere.
NAR, National Association of Realtors.
Oh, goodness.
Winner or loser?
NAR had a bad year.
It was a rebuilding year for NAR.
Well, I think next year's going to be a rebuilding year. This year, they just kind of imploded.
Yeah, I think it's going to get worse for NAR.
And, and so I think NAR is facing an existential crisis.
Okay.
I think that a lot of brokerages are looking to leave NAR, partly because they're concerned about NAR assessing everybody to deal with their losses in court, partly because they don't want to be tainted by NAR and get sued individually. So I think NAR is a stone around a lot of people's necks, and I think that it is quite possible that NAR will not survive this. Yeah,
NAR could beat you out of this. The thing is that they can't really come after individuals because we don't have to belong to NAR. It's just a membership that we basically every year decide if we want to stay in or not. And our local MLS doesn't require. We can have MLS access without being a member of NAR. That was a thing that happened a few years ago where they said it was anti-competitive to force everyone to be realtors. We are realtors. We see value in it because of the ethics, professional standards, and things like that go along. We have these other tools and mediation and things that they provide. But there are already some big brokerages that have basically said, hey, we're done. We're in certain regions of the country saying we're not going to join NAR. We're not going to make our agents be part of NAR. We're just going to be real estate licensees, but not realtors. And I think, this is an easy way to wash that whole thing because if NAR ends up with billions of dollars of claims, they'll just be like, we don't have it. We're bankrupt. and then this new organization called the National Association of Real Estate Professionals or something like that. Realtists. The National Association of Realtists will form, and there'll be a brand new organization without all the history.
Yes.
Okay. Long-term homeowners.
They were huge winners.
Massive
oh my goodness,
winners.
They were huge winners because these are the people who have 1, 2, 3% interest rates fixed on their homes for the rest of the life of the loan. So,
Or they own it free and clear.
or they own it free and clear. So these people are huge winners because they've got great loans or they own it free and clear. Plus, their homes have continued to appreciate. So I think these people have been huge winners.
Okay. Real estate agents. Regular real estate agent. Your average agent.
Okay, so your average agents very much struggled this year because of the
Use the word winner or loser.
loser.
I agree. Absolutely.
Losers.
Yep.
So I think they were losers because there were so few transactions this year. We have seen a lot of agents leave the business, which is good. But even the ones that remain have been struggling. Their business is down just because there are just fewer transactions. So I think regular real estate agents were losers this year.
Yeah, especially agents that work with buyers. Mm-hmm. I think they were hit the hardest. I think agents who do, like us, who do listings, we did it wasn't really any different year than any other year. Mm-hmm. We weren't selling 600 bank-owned homes, but it was still a pretty good year. Okay, luxury real estate agents. Why do you know all about this?
So that section of the market had a bang-up year. They were winners. So let me explain. So the reason they were winners is because there were a lot more transactions than there normally are in a year. So that's number one. So more transactions means more revenue. The second part is that this has allowed them to leverage their inventory. So a lot of them have gone ahead and sold properties off market. So that means that they got to double end it in their own brokerage. So again, they made more money. And plus, remember, there were a lot more transactions this year in the luxury space because the luxury space was unaffected by interest rates. Plus, you had people in the luxury space looking for someplace to park money because of the inflationary environment.
Yeah. It's for me to be on the outside and watch what happens over where the world one lives in with these, these luxury agents and these super high end homes that sell, and they're always cash, and it's like crazy that they're just killing it. Mm-hmm. And they do these homes go under contract in a week or two sometimes, and it's like, what? Okay. Big franchises, Keller Williams, Remax, the Real G companies like Century 21.
Okay, so short answer is losers.
Okay, losers. Why?
So they were losers because obviously they were sued by the government and they either settled or they lost. But I have to explain something real quick.
Okay.
The reason some of them settled wasn't because they believed they had done anything wrong or that they believed that they would lose. The reason a lot of them settled was their errors and omissions insurance. So what happens is when we have errors and omissions insurance, they defend us against wrongdoing. At some point, the errors and omissions company comes to you and says, hey, look, here's the deal. We're going to settle. If you do not agree to settle, then you're on your own. We're out, and you can face this on your own. You can defend yourself. You can pay whatever penalties there are. Goodbye. We're out of here.
Yeah.
So when you're faced with that, then a lot of companies, and I don't blame them, said, you know what? Since you're paying the bill, you get to make the decision. So if you want to settle, go for it. And that's really unfortunate because I think it taints the industry and it makes it seem like they agreed that there was wrongdoing when maybe they didn't agree, but this was the pragmatic decision to make.
I think these big franchises have a double whammy coming. I think they're going to lose agents because I think there's going to be less agents doing business in the future if the model shifts over. Mm-hmm. And then I think also the potential liability from past transactions that could come back and they could be liable for stuff. I just think it's going to be hard for these national franchises. I do think, though, that a lot of these franchises can basically BK out of them and then reorganize under some, because the value they provide to the agents isn't because they have a bunch of money in the bank. It's not like a company you would work for. They're just a banner that they live under, and then they provide some value. They can still provide that value even if they change their name and they're, instead of being whatever, they come, banana.
Right.
is the name of the franchise.
So kind of tangential to that, I think, and I know this is not one of your categories, but or probably isn't anyway. But I think who was actually a winner in a sick kind of way were actually insurance companies. And let me explain for a moment. The reason I think insurance companies were winners is because of these lawsuits and these settlements. Brokerages that maybe either didn't have errors and omissions insurance or didn't have directors and officers insurance, now all of a sudden are looking at this going, maybe we need to get this, maybe we need to get increased coverage. So insurance companies having clients increase coverage or get coverage where they didn't have it before because of all of this happening, I think it's been a winner for the insurance companies.
Okay. Commercial real estate owners.
So I think that depends on what type of commercial property you're invested in.
Okay.
So if you are invested in, let's say, warehouse space, you're doing fine. You're
killing
doing
it.
great.
You're killing it.
If you're invested in office space in Las Vegas, you're doing great.
Doing outstanding.
If you're invested in office space in San Francisco, you're hurting.
Yep. Or Chicago, or
Right.
probably New York City, Washington,
Yes.
D.C., Boston, L.A.
So this was very market specific, and it was very hyper local. So I think that's a push depending on where you are.
Yep.
Now we understand that there's still a lot of turbulence in the commercial market space, particularly in office space, and that is still left to play out. But again, that is market specific. That is not everywhere.
I think the winners are the people that are buying these buildings for like $4 million in a downtown area where it was just sold for $20 million, 2 or 3 years ago, and they grabbed it for $4 million.
Right.
I think the value is going to come back. I think
Right.
there was one or two of the buildings I remember them saying, it was in the city of San Francisco. It was a smaller building, and they bought it for like 3 or 4 million. Literally, the land is worth more than the
Sure.
whole building. Just the land it sits on is worth that. It's already got an improved building on it. It's empty, but they're like, the land is worth that because it's it's so valuable.
Right.
Okay. Regular sellers. You're just a regular person. You decided 2023 for whatever reason to sell a house.
I think regular sellers were winners. Obviously market specific, but overall regular sellers were winners. They were able to sell their homes, get good money for their homes. Maybe they got multiple offers. Maybe they got to have post-possession for free or for a nominal amount. We saw a lot of that this year, where sellers got to stay in their homes for 2 months for free, or they got to stay in their home for for whatever period of time that they could negotiate for free, and that was good for sellers. And again, they got a lot of money. It's interesting because we got an offer over the weekend for a property. It was listed for basically like 2.8. We got an offer for 2.3. Like 12 hours later, same buyer goes, okay, 2.5. Like 12 hours after that, same buyer says, okay, well, 2.7.
2.7
Right.
million.
And then by this morning it was like, okay, we'll give you full price. It's like, okay, we haven't even had a chance to get a hold of the seller yet. It's not like we rejected your offer, we countered you, we didn't do anything.
Okay. Did we have one listing that sold below list price?
We did have a number of them. But you have to understand that sellers were still, and sellers usually are, very optimistic about their pricing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on another video.
But
we don't push people to. If you want to list it a little high, that's fine. But we're going to have a conversation after 2 weeks if we don't get any offers or people coming in the house.
But we have had I can't give you a percentage, but a very high number of homes sold for the top price in their market segment.
Mortgage companies.
Okay, so mortgage companies had a bad year. There's just no way to sugarcoat this thing. They had a bad year.
Two things killed them. What killed them?
Well, interest rates killed them.
Interest rates absolutely devastated them.
Yeah, so interest rates killed them, and the lack of transactions, right?
Okay.
So because interest rates were high, there was a lack of transactions. There was also less money in the kitty to play with as far as fees that they could charge. So it's just been a difficult year for them.
They had to get competitive. So normally people just go, hey, I'm just going to go to this mortgage guy and then he's going to get me a loan. But they were trying to, go to two different people and try to get better programs. And it's harder to add fees on to some of the ones. And, it just makes it harder. A lot of transactions were cash. People don't realize that we had it was the highest number of cash transactions in like a decade. So, and then there were total less number of, and what a lot of people don't realize is big banks aren't doing all the loans. It's mortgage companies.
Right. And mortgage companies tend to be small. I mean, yes, they're huge mortgage companies like Quicken Loans, right? But a lot of mortgage companies are pretty small.
I think they're UWM now, or Rocket Mortgage.
Rocket Mortgage, yeah.
Rocket Mortgage, UWM are the massive online ones. They're like Zillow, but for mortgage loans.
Right. So the online guys are pretty big, but most mortgage companies are small.
Yeah.
So with people trying to park cash, there were a lot of transactions where maybe normally people would have taken out a loan.
Okay. The last one, winner loser 2023. All the people out there that watched our channel.
Okay, you're all winners, especially if you subscribed.
Yes. If you didn't subscribe, then you're not a winner.
No, well, if you didn't subscribe, you still have time to be a winner. Subscribe.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we had a good year. Mm-hmm. I think we were right. Somebody came in the comments and basically, we've had a couple people recently that are new to the channel that have said, I'm just finding out about you now. And I'm like, look, we have 1,200 plus videos out there. If you haven't figured out who we are, then it's just because either you haven't really looked or YouTube hates us and they're just banning us. We're not getting any views. We're not getting served up in the results and stuff for people to find. I would say we were pretty accurate here. And this is why. We said over a year ago, we said in January of 2022 that the interest rate thing would last 18 months, and it went 20 months before interest rates started coming back down. So it went from the time we said it, 18 months, it was 20 months. We're off by 2 months. We also said interest rates would moderate. We said this in June of 2022. We said it numerous times. We also said the best time to have bought a house would have been October, November, December, and January of 2022, that whole 4-month period. And it was absolutely the best time to buy a house. We got ripped totally for not saying home prices would drop 40 or 50%. Like literally, people took clips of our video and put it on the Crash Bro channels and laughed at us and said how out of touch and delusional we were. But I think we were right. Home prices moderated, and in most markets they're up. There's 3 or 4 markets in the U.S. where home prices are still down year over year. But in Vegas, we've had one of the best years. Except for 2020, 21, and 2022. 2023 was higher than 2015 through 2019 so far. Right. We're up about 6.1% just from January. It's been kind of a hot year.
Yeah, it's been a good year.
Yeah.
So we hope that you had a good year too, okay? We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you subscribing and hitting the notification bell. We appreciate you sharing the video and encouraging others to subscribe. Please leave us your real estate related comments. We appreciate them. And we will see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.